everyone, so this is 2 minutes on items that were required to be on the general price list at the funeral home. So the Federal Trade Commission, as you've heard me talk about them, the FTC came up with the funeral rule, which basically gives all these rules that funeral homes have to follow to protect the consumer as you go in to make a funeral arrangements, but also to keep all the funeral homes working under the same governance, essentially. So on the general price list, there are basic things that we have to list prices for. You can have more than these, but these are the items that have to be listed with numbers on the price list. So there's 2 package items, the direct cremation and an immediate burial. So that direct cremation is a type of cremation service where the deceased is brought into care of the funeral home. They do all the paperwork and gather the information and return the individual to the family. That's the direct cremation price. Immediate burial is an immediate burial, just as it says. So the deceased is brought into the care of the funeral home. They are prepared and they are buried with the family giving the pertinent information for death certificate. It's a very basic burial service. So then the other items, we have the basic services of the funeral home and staff. This is the first number that's typically listed on a general price list. This is going to pertain to every family served. It includes the pricing for the general staff, the overheads of the funeral home, all of the little things that you don't see being done. The phone calls, the janitorial staff, the front desk staff, the phone service, all of those things that come together to create this kind of overhead price for the funeral home. You then have the transfer of the deceased. That is sometimes referred to as a removal. That's bringing the individual into the care of the funeral home. The embalming, other preparation of the body. That is sometimes washing them and getting them ready for an identification viewing. Or that is also doing the hair and the cosmetics and the dressing and getting them ready to be casketed for a public viewing. The use of the facility and staff for a viewing, for a funeral service, and or a memorial service. So there's 3 different items: visitation, funeral service, memorial service. You may also see additional costs for a weekend or an after hours. Those are legal. They just have to be spelled out on that general price list. Use of equipment and service for a graveside service. This is another type of service that there's going to be an individual charge for. In most states, a funeral director has to oversee that graveside service and that burial. That is what is part of that charge, along with the vehicle that might need to be used will then also be listed, whether it's a hearse or a utility vehicle or a limousine. Now, if a funeral home does not have a limousine, it does not have to list that limousine out specifically. You would, if you wanted a limousine and one wasn't available from that funeral home, they would add a cash advance item from the livery service that they hired a limousine from. You will also have forwarding of remains and receiving of remains. That's going to be 2 other small package type things where we take service maybe of a funeral home out of town to do the removal, embalming, and getting an individual back to us, or we do that to ship out an individual to another funeral home. It's typically a reduced price from if you did itemized off the statement to do that one full service item. Then you'll have separate price lists for your casket price list, and your outer burial container price list. So a funeral home can offer a package, but they need to also be able to spell out individually those numbers to you and then show a package discount at the end if you do not want your statement to just say included, 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 included. So you can ask for it in either way. These are the items that, by the Federal Trade Commission's rules, need to be listed out on a general price list for a consumer when they go into a funeral home.